So welcome back, everyone. This is the fifth part 5 of our series on AI in the mid-market. And today we're going to talk about gadgets. Today it's about the hardware that you will need to build out AI platforms. You may remember that in the last 4 episodes, we've discussed why people would want to do AI, who you need to have at the table to be able to actually be successful doing AI in an organization. We talked about the cost of AI to give people help in trying to figure out how to budget and how to request money for investment projects. We've talked about software platforms that are used on top of hardware to be able to govern and execute on AI. And today, as I said, we're going to talk about the hardware under the covers that makes the magic happen. And so with us today is Seifa. Thank you for being with us, Seifa. I'm going to let you intro yourself since you get to do it so often. I'm sure you have like a lovely little one-liner. And I will pop back for questions. Thank you much.
Thank you very much, Michael, and thank you for joining us on this session. My name is Seifa Teklu. I am a Principal Technical Solutions Architect supporting partners and end customers on AI. So today I'll be going through AI for SMB, and I'll be covering the hardware and the building blocks that are required to build a solution that will address your business needs. So first, I would like to start by AI for organizations of all sizes. As you know, AI is a term that's used across the board, whether it's for medium business or enterprise customers, but it's AI for organizations of all sizes. It leads to business outcomes and it delivers unprecedented value creation. So 91% of medium business with AI adoption report increased revenue. First is really focused on driving growth. Second one is really automating tasks that they currently do. Third is really about enhancing customer experience. And last but not least, it's about boosting productivity. So overall, AI adoption by 91% of medium business, they report increased revenue. Now, on the next slide, we look at growing organizations are prioritizing AI. So 73% of SMBs say that AI or generative AI is a key part of their organization's business strategy. So and when you look at some of the challenges, 93% face difficulties when integrating AI or generative AI into their strategies. 70% are pessimistic with near-term value of AI. And of course, 69% are fearful that new innovations will increase their attack surface. So there are going to be challenges, but the key thing is, the strategies that you put around AI that will be able to drive the growth that I was talking about earlier. So when we talk about AI in action, there are SMB customer success stories, whether it be product development, content creation, or taking something that's physical and making it a digital twin, and also computer vision. And these are some of the examples where companies have actually applied AI and they've seen a reduction in model training time by about 87.5%. They also, for film production processes, it accelerates it by 50 times, 50x. And also introducing new virtual forms of remote collaboration using, for hospital rooms at remote site. And also an 8 times increase in accuracy of inspection when it comes to railroad safety with automated inspections as well. So simplifying AI adoption, I think, for your growing business is a goal that everyone shares. But first off, to basically adopt AI within your business, you need to determine the highest value AI use cases to meet the business objectives. Each business will have their own priorities when it comes to AI, but determining the highest value AI basically will help you basically start with the highest use case and then basically add on gradually. The second is really ensuring the data is accessible. A lot of companies have data, or cold data points. And the goal is really to make these hot data that you can actually use for making decisions. So the data needs to be accessible, it needs to be accurate and secure. Third, need to establish a proof of concept to achieve quick wins. So the proof of concept is going to basically take your use case and apply and see whether that's feasible, to take it to production. Fourth is really flexibility. Increase the flexibility with a broad ecosystem of AI partners that will reduce the time it takes, to get results. And then last but not least, addressing skill gaps and simplifying operations is also basically one of the challenges that customers come across. And basically with Dell, Dell is committed to advancing, your priority initiatives depending on, all the factors that I just talked about. So when you navigate the AI options, you have, options. So you can buy or you can build. And basically, you can determine which one best fits your goals. If you buy, for example, you basically have lower initial cost. It requires less technical know-how, faster deployment. You're also trusting established security protocols, but it also comes with its own drawbacks, which is limited scalability. So as your business grows or you plan on scaling it, then the build option might be the right fit depending on your organization's goals. So building, of course, may have a high upfront cost and require technical expertise and longer deployment time, but it's also customizable and scalable, and it will also allow you to establish security and data policies around your data. So on this slide, basically, you can see that some customers can start with AI PCs and go to workstations, but at the same token, when they build, they basically invest in the infrastructure like servers and data center equipment, and apply it either at the data center edge or co-location facility. So basically, there's a lot of different options that you have to weigh initially, whether you go AI as a service or GPU as a service and deploy it in the cloud. There's a lot of different options, but really the choice is between buy and build, and that will be determined based on where you are in your journey to adopting AI. So Dell basically has an AI factory. It's really Dell's approach to help accelerate AI innovation in organizations of all sizes. It comprises of portfolio of products, solutions, and services, which are optimized for AI workloads. It brings together these AI optimized technologies with an open ecosystem of partners. These are validated, they're integrated solutions. They have basically expert services and best practices to help you achieve all the AI, achieve the AI outcomes much, much faster. So when you look at the Dell AI Factory, it provides you that framework. It starts with the infrastructure, and from the infrastructure, you can rely on an open ecosystem or open source software. You could also look at services to deploy, and then you can apply different types of use cases depending on your organization's priorities. So the use cases can start small and grow large over time. And of course, you need the fuel, which is the data that will be able to fuel the Dell AI Factory. So we're going to go a little deeper into the AI Factory. So on this slide, there's different use cases. So following the previous slide, such as digital assistant, data creation, computer vision, digital twins. So I'm going to go over a lot more use cases, but on the next slide. So these are common use cases that other customers have adopted or looking to adopt. So whether it becomes, from software development, content summarization, it could be for legal documents. There's content creation or personalizing those content. It could be for blogs, for videos, or educational content. Digital assistance is another one, which is customer-facing support for training and education. Computer vision, or capturing new revenue opportunities, quality inspection, inventory management, retail customer analysis. There's quite a few things that you could use computer vision, and of course the digital twins, which allows you to do product development, virtual product designs, predictive modeling, are some of the examples where customers can use common use cases for AI, in different industries. So it can span whether, from a vertical perspective, whether it's manufacturing, banking, hospitality, healthcare, retail, and entertainment. There's a lot of different use cases that you could use AI for. So AI use cases inside of Dell. So Dell had to go through the same journey. Basically, Dell's priority use cases were aligned with Dell's areas of differentiation, business strategy, and rigorous prioritization process. So basically, they looked at the go-to-market, like sales assistance and search tool to help team members rapidly find information and prep for meetings so they can maximize face-to-face interactions. There was also the product development, coding assistant to automate developer work, services, which provides real-time troubleshooting recommendations, as well as supply chain, which allows you to, allowed them to simplify, standardize, and automate operations. So we're not just talking about, use cases across the board, but these are things that Dell has also adopted internally to make sure that they could leverage the benefits of AI. So when you look at AI, basically there's data. The data can live at the edge. It could live at data center, or it could live in the cloud. And there's also the use cases on the other side, which I mentioned could be used for a variety of use cases. So when you're talking about data, to fuel your AI workloads, you could work with Dell Professional Services or Dell partners to find, prepare, and secure the data. So it really starts with data discovery, understanding the type of data you have. And most customers, they may have data that's structured in nature, which is like from databases, or it could be unstructured data, which is not really in rows and columns. But the key thing is really, you have a lot of data that is not being utilized, and that data making sure, going through the data discovery phase, what data do you have available for your desired use case, as we talked about earlier. So identify the use case and then understand exactly what type of data is available is going to be the first step. Once the data discovery phase has been completed, the second phase is really the data preparation. So where's your data? Is it secured, or who can and should access it? Will probably be key questions to ask. And then, of course, the third phase is really the implementation. Once you have a use case and you have the data and the data is prepared, now it's time to start to fuel your AI strategy or models. So the models basically are going to be the engine that will be giving you the results. So the data being put in the AI model will be able to give you the results that you're seeking. Simply put, AI is only as good as the data behind it, and your data is the key differentiator. So it's important to adopt a data-first mindset. This means prioritizing well-managed, high-quality data, protection, and accessibility, as it will impact the efficacy of your AI tools as well. So high-quality, labeled, and context-driven data will set you apart as a business, driving precision, faster outcomes, and greater value from your AI investments. So as we build the Dell AI Factory, you will see, we could start with the infrastructure, and the infrastructure could comprise of client devices. That's typically where developers may use client devices, or end users can use the client devices to build the models to test on a smaller use case. But at the same token, we talked about the data center, where you can purchase compute, storage, data protection, networking, and software to build that initial infrastructure to be able to support the AI factory. Now, when we look at the PCs, workstations to data center to cloud, Dell has a wide selection of options and choices. So, starting from laptops and desktops to high-performance AI PCs, the Tower systems or the T-Series, that can be deployed in near edge and non-traditional IT spaces. There's also the R-Series, which is rack-mounted servers, which tackle an array of generative AI use cases with reliable infrastructure. There's also the XE, which is on the high end, which contain the most complex workloads with unprecedented performance. Now, if you have, require edge deployments, there's also the XR series servers. So they take generative AI to the edge and innovate anywhere. And then from a storage perspective, you need something that you could train your AI, with the data that you have. So the PowerScale 1FS storage, it will bring AI to your data to achieve better outcomes. The networking becomes the glue that will be able to hold the whole AI pieces together from an infrastructure perspective. And that allows you innovation, moving data from one point to another, and also lower latency with advanced networking capabilities. But at the same token, you need an insurance policy, such as data protection, which ensures the security and recoverability of the data that is basically powering your AI workloads. So the key takeaway from this slide is that you have a lot of different options, whether you start small, at the edge, or whether you start in the data center, or take it all the way up to the most extreme, high complex workloads. There are solutions to be able to address your business requirements. Now, when we go one level above, once you have an infrastructure foundation, the next thing is really working on the applications and the models and the solutions and the frameworks and tools. And there's different types of applications that may be well suited for your specific vertical. There may be models that are basically pre-built, where you can actually go out and customize as opposed to creating it from the ground up. Most companies today, they will take a model and optimize that model to meet a specific business requirement. And then, of course, you could look at open system frameworks and tools to basically shorten that life cycle. So open ecosystem is going to be key, whether you're working in the edge data center or cloud, and also keeping in mind the use cases that are on the right side of the screen. So when you create access to a broad open ecosystem for AI innovation, then there are global system integrators, silicon providers, co-location providers, hosting providers, as well as database and information retrieval, orchestration and tooling, frameworks and models. So partnering with a AI partner ecosystem is going to be key, such as Maven Spire. So these are going to be key. So leveraging all the tools that you have will reduce the time that it takes, to build your AI, framework, and being able to deliver faster solutions for your use case. So you can also wrap this, the infrastructure, open ecosystems and open ecosystem with services. Services basically, having experienced people be able to design these solutions, put together a strategy, work with the data, cleanse the data, put it on a platform, identify the use cases, operate it, and scale it, would require, services. And you could leverage partner services such as Maven Spire, or there's also Dell services that would be able to complement the, services that is needed to put together the solution. So Dell partners, expertise for every step of your AI journey. It starts comprehensive AI support with strategy and data to integrate for integration and deployment. So there's specialized knowledge for tailored solutions. There's a global network delivering local support, deep customer business strategy, through relationships, vertical experience, for industry and use case proficiency, and also customer guidance for smarter choices using a trusted advisor. So being able to leverage the partner ecosystem is going to be one of the key things. So when we look at the Dell AI Factory, it's really a framework that allows you to go from point A to point B, and it provides you, the data comes in one end, the use cases are applied, but right in the center you have the infrastructure, open ecosystem and services. But this also has to be wrapped up with security, which is top of mind, as well as sustainability, which is also one of the key things to keep in mind. So we're going to talk about security next. So when we talk about security for the fleet, there's the Dell Trusted Workspace, and for the infrastructure, there's Dell Trusted Infrastructure. So on the left-hand side, you can see a lot of different security for PCs, which basically secure commercial PCs, hardware, software defenses. And also on the right-hand side, you have Dell trusted infrastructure such as server storage, data protection. And these basically give you their infrastructure designed with security in mind. And they provide you robust security features with built-in, including zero trust principles. So security is also top of mind, and you need to take security into consideration as well. So 85% of organizations express concern over the environmental impact of their AI technologies, such as lower energy and cooling costs, transition to AI with circularity in mind, and also utilizing AI for human progress. So, sustainability is also and also utilizing AI responsibly is also one of the factors to consider. So when you talk about why Dell Technologies for AI, well, you start your AI journey with ease. You right-size AI and you protect critical data and systems. So this basically shows you, how to deploy a proof of concept or scale up with broadest portfolio of AI solutions. You can also accelerate your AI journey with an extensive AI partner ecosystem. You can control your costs and enhance your return on investment or ROI with Dell Apex. And you could also overcome the skill gaps with comprehensive professional partner services. So Dell provides you the PowerEdge servers, which are purpose-built, intelligent, and cyber-resilient. So you have a lot of different choices, and the choice is really up to you to pick the right platform that will be able to handle your specific needs. Whether it's the R series, which is basically the data center workhorse, or the XE series, which provides you extreme acceleration with NVIDIA GPUs, or the T series, which is basically enterprise class tower systems, which are used for computing anywhere, or the XR, which are used for extreme environments or rugged environments. Dell has the purpose-built intelligent PowerEdge servers to address your needs. So this goes into each of them, which I highlighted, from a time perspective. The XR series, again, extreme edge, high performance requirements, and this is used by 82% of Fortune 100 companies for their edge solutions. The T series, a tower that I mentioned, and it will adapt to changing workloads with flexible expansion options. And R series is basically used to support today's transforming business needs and tomorrow's challenges. And this is basically one of the widely used PowerEdge R series, and it provides you a lot of flexibility from top-tier power and speed for most demanding workloads. The XE series basically is purpose-built for AI performance. It's optimized for acceleration and advanced cooling capabilities. Whether you're looking for air-cooled systems or liquid-cooled systems, the XE series will be able to address those. And it also has 3 times better GPU density on these servers, on these PowerEdge servers as well. So I'm going to touch on the PowerScale, which is basically the world's leading storage for AI. So if you're doing any type of training or inferencing, basically this is the storage system, scale out storage system. You can start small and you could basically scale all the way to the PowerScale F910. So the F210, basically for SMB or for small deployments, is the optimal platform for performance and small deployment. It has 128 gigs of memory for NVMe SSD drives, but you can add additional drives as needed. But basically, this is another piece, and these are 1U form factors, but it gives you all the benefits that you see on the screen as well. So from basically, this states that NVIDIA, which basically uses their high-end DGX, is also utilizing the PowerScale system, for their own use cases for the DGX platform as well. So the next is really high performance, low latency networking, which is going to be key. So networking, as I mentioned, is going to be the glue that's going to be holding the AI infrastructure together. It provides you high performance, scalable, and it's also open. So it has 64 ports on this fabric switch and basically running Sonic operating system. 64 ports, and it gives you 400 gigs of bandwidth. So basically, when building the infrastructure, you need to make sure not only the compute and the storage, but the fabric that interconnects all the different components comes with very, very low latency as well. So there's also hyperconverged systems that could be utilized for these types of things as well. For data protection, there's solutions, Dell PowerProtect, that will be able to protect, the artifacts and things that, all back up the data within your AI factory. And it's also cyber resilient. It provides you up to 75% reduction in downtime, and also gives you a high deduplication efficiency when integrated in the AI factory. So in summary, basically the Dell AI Factory with NVIDIA is the industry's first end-to-end enterprise AI solution. It provides you the framework, the tools, the resources, the services, and basically powered by your data, and you can select the use cases that you need. And this is basically Dell Technologies and NVIDIA. NVIDIA basically, utilizes the Dell NVIDIA GPUs and CPUs, NVIDIA networking as well, to build a solid infrastructure. And then, of course, the AI software. Customers can choose third-party independent software vendors and models, or also leverage the NVIDIA AI Enterprise software suite to be able to build those models or optimize them. And then, of course, wrap all of that with services, partner services, as well as Dell services to basically give you the AI solution that you try to, that you're looking for. So with this, I will pass it over to Michael and see if there's any questions.
So you covered a whole lot. So I was trying to stay out of the way to let you get through it. But let me wind back a little on the hardware. There was a slide in there that was like client all the way through server, quite a few back. So what I hear you saying is that in the development and building of AI platforms, you're going to need lots of different platforms as part of that. And you have a lot of choices because you can start small, start local, and then you can scale up as something works. Like as you don't have to buy an XE just to try something. You could potentially start with a T or an R server to get started and still have good performance. And then it's just simply, I think a lot of people get confused, like, why do we talk about use cases when we're talking about like hardware? And I guess the reason is that the attributes of hardware are a little different in AI. We talk about parameters, and we talk about the different times to train versus this, and the different processors that are needed for each thing, and the use cases tell us which things we're going to need so that we can work out the right hardware for it. But at least in the case of Dell, who's gone to a lot of effort to figure out where people run AI, they have AI PCs, which are, interestingly not about creating AI platforms so much as, next generation AI needing to run right with you side by side on your computer with you. And then you have the platform side where you're into the workstation or Spark kind of stuff. And then you're into like traditional servers where they've re-architected them to be able to take on attributes of AI, multiple GPUs, that sort of stuff, to be able to kind of build to the future in kind of the old boxes we're used to seeing. And then there's the stuff like XE, which is like, let's blow it out of the, we got to get a lot of density in a little tiny space that's going to be like world-changing performance. And then you said something that I'd forgotten, which, there's this concept of data gravity where you put the AI where the data is. And sometimes the data is in like railroad tracks out in the middle of nowhere, or in a box that law enforcement is using to go catch somebody. And so you now have the industrial series, the super rugged series, which is really about, I can toss that in the back of a pickup and go out on a farm and be okay. And if that's where the data is, that's where the compute has to be. So I just saw a huge spectrum. I guess my question is, like, you see a lot of these sorts of opportunities crossing your desk these days. Do people really start small, or is there like kind of a happy middle that people start with to get started, or do you see people shoot the moon and use something like Apex or some kind of vehicle to give themselves time? Like how do people solve the time to value versus cost problem?
Yeah, whether it's a medium business or enterprise, they typically start small. They want to be able to prove and also justify the cost. And once they see the success, it's easier to scale the solution versus to do a huge investment and then find out that you have not really engineered the solution accurately or you're missing different components. So there's a lot of different use cases within an organization, whether it's medium business or large. So I think selecting the use case that has high priority, meaning start with that, start small, and build large, I think has been the approach that most customers uh, have taken that approach, and I see more success coming out of that versus a huge investment and then finding out that it has to be re-engineered or they need additional GPUs or so yeah, you want to be able to manage your cost effectively. This can be a small investment or a significantly high stakes investment. So uh, that's the
Yeah,
approach that I've seen.
a lot of the technologies you covered, but a lot of the higher end technologies covered, for example, PowerScale, they actually are scale out technologies. They work in Legos, right?
Yes,
Where you
that's right.
start with like a minimum amount and then you can add on. So you're not really like you don't really outgrow them. You're trying to find the right size Lego and then you're continuing to add and add and add. On the compute side, you know, as we're moving between these different series of scale, it's not about building usually a monolithic single thing that's going to run it all. You're clustering, still multiple different servers. Is there a point where people like get started with the R series and start with one, maybe add a couple more for scale, and then at some point, instead of continuing along that model, you just uplift it to an XE? Is it like on the compute side, like every three, or is there no real hard and fast rule? And it doesn't really do that. You don't outgrow something. You might, for a certain function, put it on different hardware while still keeping the original. Or I guess what I'm trying to ask, is there a point where your investment basically needs to be replaced, or is there a way to just keep adding to scale to the future?
Yeah, you could use building blocks, but usually the model that they choose will determine the hardware. By that I mean, uh, earlier I mentioned in the presentation, there's large language models that are out there in the public, and there are those that are designed by universities. And so instead of building, especially in the medium business, instead of building the model from the ground up, customers may select to use a model that's already out there and customize it. That model will basically have parameters, and those parameters will dictate what type of hardware that they start with, and they will basically optimize that model to what meets their business requirement. Say, look, for example, if they went with an 8 or 6 to 8 billion parameter, they may not need a GPU to drive that LLM. They can start with an Intel chip, the SXM chip, and be able to drive. And maybe they could use it for training. So there's two different things. One is training or optimizing it. The other one is inferencing, asking questions the model has never, has not seen before. So that will drive basically the investment. If they have, let's say, 15 to 20 billion parameters, maybe they can start with 2 GPUs, NVIDIA GPUs on that server, which will also dictate the type of hardware that they need. But some cases, if they're doing 30 billion parameters, maybe 4 GPUs might be required. But if we're talking about very, very, not just 70, 80,000, I'm sorry, billion parameters, in the very high end, then the XE is going to be able to support about 8 GPUs, NVIDIA GPUs. And also the communication path, the architecture matters. On the low end, basically it's going through the PCIe bus. whereas on the high end, basically it's GPU to GPU communication. There are those customers that want GPUs, basically they want to share those GPUs, or they may want to have like what's called multi-instance GPUs. They might, since GPUs cost a lot, they want to be able to leverage and get the most out of those GPUs, and those features are typically found on the high end. So it's really a balancing act, and there's also sizing tools that Dell has made available to both partners. So partners can put together solutions that will address specific use cases. So it will take into account 1 to 2 to 3 use cases, 10 use cases, 20 use cases, and then that will determine exactly the compute, the storage, the fabric that you need in order to build your infrastructure.
That's an excellent point. I don't know that people understand, because when we sort of talk about this, just to make it easy, we talk about a use case and a piece of hardware. But generally, I've seen when people are scaling the hardware, it's not. Well, I have seen mega applications that are just super big and they need higher hardware. Normally, what I see is the scale is when you get past the single application. When I start trying to host a platform for 20 different AI applications or 50 different AI applications, then I'm not in a single server anymore. Like that's kind of impossible, right? Now I'm into how am I going to put together the right hardware platform, sitting under a software platform that now is doing the work of multiple different teams across an organization in multiple different agentic or non-agentic AIs, and here we are, right? And this is how we get to the bigger, more expensive stuff.
Yeah, and also the total number of users will also determine, just like any application, when you're designing it, 10 users doing inferencing versus, hundreds or thousands of users doing inferencing, that will also have an impact. Yeah.
So obviously, I mean, for the audience, we worked together a long time, right? So I remember a story you once told, and hopefully you still remember it too. I do get the question from time to time from people about what happens if you get it wrong. And I remember when you were first working with the NVIDIA enterprise platform, you said you ran it on one of your laptops, not a special laptop, just a regular laptop. And I think you were running like a chatbot, and you had a great experience of what happens if you get it wrong. Would you share that? Do you remember it?
Yeah, I think, a lot of people do not, the question comes up, you talk about GPUs, and the first question that comes up, why should I spend money on a GPU? So I did have a prototype that was running on a GPU, and, the performance was excellent. That's about, it was prompt-based. It was responding back very fast. But apparently, since the question came up, why should I need a GPU? I actually had another prototype running just on, CPU, no GPU. It was not configured with the graphical processing unit. So I run it on a CPU. So the same customer that asked me that question, he's like, how come the prompts are so slow? It's like counting words. I said, well, you just answered your question, because that one is running on a CPU and this one is running on a GPU. So that basically shows you, I mean, sometimes it's hard to justify the cost, but when you actually design it well, the GPUs basically, they parallelize, the request that you're giving it, so there's going to be benefit. The question is, how many GPUs do you need? But at the same time, if you're going to do development work, then the CPU might suffice. But there is a difference between CPU and GPU. It's not one or the other. Sometimes you need both, because the CPUs can do very high-end arithmetic operations, whereas the GPU is doing a lot more parallel tasks. But the key thing when it comes to AI or any is today we're competing with folks that are using their iPhones or their mobile devices, and they get a certain level of response. And I think they're expecting the same level of response when they put a question to an AI model. They want the response fast. So I think that answers CPU versus GPU question.
And if they want to know how come their phone is faster, they should see those articles about how people are predicting we're going to run out of power from all the AI and data centers in the cloud. Like that's what's feeding your phone, right?
Correct.
So where does so obviously we have NVIDIA always innovating, right? You have to, when you cross trillion, you have to work harder to stay that high, right? So we have the Grace line with the Grace Blackwell, and then I think it's Hopper now. Like, are those CPUs, GPUs, or both? Is there are we just going to see it being a different story every generation going forward for a while? Or is there always going to be a certain consistency between whether it's a hopped up CPU, it's still a CPU with certain limits, and the GPU is the next thing you have to add for that acceleration.
Yeah, I think there's innovation taking place every day, even as we speak. And today the data, most of the data we're working is text-based, and people are happy with it. But there's also graphics, and a lot of other things. When you add to it, I think that would require much more memory from a GPU perspective. So I think the innovation will address those needs. We're still at an early phase from an AI perspective, but as more innovations come out and more models, LLMs coming out, they're going to become much smaller compared to the LLMs that we see today. I think it will have a huge impact, and also the adoption. The number of people adopting AI to address, and the use cases across all kinds of verticals will also have an impact on the type of GPUs and innovations that you see moving forward, I believe.
Yeah, it'll be interesting just to watch the road, because we're seeing such innovation in the AI cycle. I know that in this conversation we're talking about AI platforms, and so business specific applications that have to be tuned to a business, but just watching how easily people are turning new things where either AI is part of it or something that's coordinating it. ChatGPT used to be the pinnacle of all things, right? And now, like, people are so over chatbots, except they're not, right? And so it's been interesting to watch this one. It's clearly going to progress very rapidly, and as we've said, there's really no way to avoid it, right? It's just a matter of getting super focused on what it can do for your business and seeing that return on investment, because it's changing so much, right? You can only invest as you go. You just got to not be scared of it. Like, you have to get in there. So thank you for breaking down the hardware side of it and seeing, if you all were confused by all of the options, that's actually a good thing, because it means there are many, many options. A slide with only one option on it means it's expensive, and that's tough, right? Slide with many options means no matter what shape, size, or use case you're talking about and where it needs to happen, there's something available for you that can be affordable and aligned to getting a job done. All right, I don't see any Q&A questions outstanding. Thank you, Seifa. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. We've made it to the end of our 5-part AI series. Our next series, by the way, is a deep dive on storage in the modern era. So whether you're talking about block storage, unstructured storage, or disaster recovery storage, we're going to be doing a webinar series on those topics. One episode per kind of storage, to be able to dig deep. And so if you have a lot more interest in what Seifa just sort of deflected off of, which is the unstructured platforms that have to live under AI, here's your hint that there will be an episode for you in the future. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Have a great day.
Okay.